It's funny about profound change. You always imagine when things change radically, there are going to be troops in the streets, and you're going to know this is the pivot point, this is the revolution. But that's most of the time not what actually happens. Usually there's some guy in a suit and tie speaking soothing words. You don't even know that everything is changing when it is. That's the case with what happened on June 15th, 2012, a decade ago. On that day, Barack Obama walked into the Rose Garden and announced, full of self-confidence and coolness, Obama announced that his administration decided actually not to deport millions of illegal immigrants. Henceforth, Barack Obama explained, these millions of people would no longer be identified, in fact, as illegal aliens or even breakers of federal law, which everyone had assumed they were. No. Going forward, they would be called dreamers. So illegal aliens are bad, of course, but dreamers are good. And because to control language is to control reality, these dreamers would no longer be subject to federal law. They'd be above federal law because you can't ban a dream. That's effectively the case that Obama made. Now, what Obama did that day was, strictly speaking, illegal. Several courts later ruled that it's illegal, obviously. Only kings and legislatures get to change the law. American presidents do not have that power and never have. But no one stopped Barack Obama from doing this, so he did it anyway. And the effect, the intended effect, was immediate. Foreign nationals flooded into the United States. Over the decade before Obama's Dreamer Rose Garden announcement, about 8,000 unaccompanied minors showed up at the U.S. border every year. After Obama redefined lawbreakers as dreamers, more than 24,000 showed up. And that's accelerated. Under Joe Biden, the number has grown to 130,000 per year. Now, it's interesting where these people are coming from. They're not coming from a contiguous nation, Mexico. No, they're coming from much farther away. According to new numbers from HHS, 32% of unaccompanied migrants they're seeing are from Honduras. 47% are from Guatemala. Look at a map. 13% are from El Salvador. Those are far away. Those are in Central America. Just 1% are coming from Mexico. What's going on here exactly? Well, mostly they are teenagers. The overwhelming majority are over the age of 14. They're not little kids. And again, this is accelerating. And it didn't stop during the last administration. The Trump administration didn't stop it. Under media pressure, that administration agreed to end so-called family separations at the border. Really, they're inhumane. But the fact is, family separations happen all the time to American citizens. If you commit a crime, you're going to be separated from your kids, and NBC News won't care at all, much less report it. But illegal aliens, dreamers, shouldn't be forced to face these consequences, explained the New York Times. So now they're not faced to, because they're dreamers. So naturally, the surge continued. But why? Why? Typically, a country calculates its immigration levels based on its internal needs. So all throughout American history, there have been periods where, oh, we need people to do this or that. Let's import those people. But based on the state of the U.S. economy in 2022, these are not the people you would import if you cared about your country. Almost none of the arrivals have a meaningful education. They're not trained to participate in the emerging economy you hear so much about. STEM plays no role in this. There's no economic justification whatsoever for these levels of immigration. And of course, immigration destabilizes your society. It makes it far less cohesive. That's always true. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. If you have a ton of new people, you're less cohesive. So why are they coming? Well, there's only one reason. Because the Democratic Party wants new voters. Period. That's not a racist conspiracy. There's a racist No, it's not. It's true. And we know that it's true, not because we heard it on Alex Jones, but because leading Democrats have said so repeatedly in public for years. And here's the latest example. Here is Chuck Schumer, the head Democrat in the U.S. Senate, last month.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
Everything about that was a lie. We need workers, really. There are, what, 7 million American-born men who have dropped out of the workforce age, who just aren't working, who are on the internet all day? Does anyone care? No. Just replace them. Americans aren't reproducing. Really? Why? Well, because the economy has changed. And what's their answer to that? The Democratic Party's answer? Well, the Treasury Secretary told us a month and a half ago. She said, if you're worried about the economy, have an abortion. People who want to have kids increasingly can't. Why is that? Well, because the food supply and the air and water have been poisoned and sperm counts are half what they were a few decades ago. So these are specific problems that have prevented millions of Americans from having families, from reproducing, as Chuck Schumer just said. And you could fix them if you tried, but they're not trying. Instead, the solution is to replace the people who aren't reproducing with millions of new people from other countries. That's not a racist conspiracy theory. Chuck Schumer just said it. However many undocumented there are here, Schumer added. So as a political matter, what is this? Well, you're hearing a lot about threats to democracy. This is an actual threat to democracy. This is an actual effort to disenfranchise American voters. It's an attempt to replace their vote with a new electorate. So this is incredibly dark. And it's not a referendum on the people coming here, most of whom are, well, they want to be here, so that says something good about them. No. This is a measure of the intent of the people in charge, the malice behind what they're doing. So it's hard to believe this could become law. This could be codified since Republicans just took over the House. Oh, but it could be in the lame duck session, which does not represent the recently expressed will of voters last month. A month ago, voters cast their ballots and they said, we would like a Republican House, and they got one. But that's all about to be short-circuited. New reporting suggests that Democrats and several Republicans are working on a deal to pass mass amnesty for millions of illegal aliens before the new Congress can be seated. Kevin McCarthy, the incoming House Speaker, has promised not to hold a vote for any immigration bill until the border is secure, because it would be insane to do otherwise. And yet several Republican members of the Senate are trying to pass a mass amnesty before the new Republican Congress is seated next month. Leading that effort, and should become famous for this, is Tom Tillis, the Republican senator of North Carolina, joined by Democrat Kirsten Sinema of Arizona. According to Axios, between 10 and 12 Republican senators could join this plan. And that would include names you're probably familiar with: Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Mitt Romney of Utah, and as we said, Tom Tillis of North Carolina. Then several retiring senators, Rob Portman, Roy Blunt, Richard Burr, are also being courted to support the bill. Imagine someone who's on his way out of Congress in days will be codifying a law that will change the country forever. So how are they justifying this? Well, clearly their donors want it, right? Because cheap labor is always the justification for everything. It's a short-sighted view. Tom Tillis is saying this is okay because it will only offer amnesty to the dreamers, Barack Obama's dreamers. Illegal migrants supposedly came to this country as young people. So by offering amnesty to dreamers, what will happen next? Well, what happened last time? The U.S. Congress will incentivize more foreign nationals to flood into the country. And that's the whole point of it. That's why Obama did it a decade ago. So what will happen to our economy, which is at the verge of a real downturn? Everyone knows that. Well, let's see. The average dreamer is 28 years old. 28 years old. The average income, the median income of dreamers is $26,000. That's far lower than the median income of Americans. So that's not an attack on anybody. It's only a simple observation. If the country is getting poorer, you probably don't want a lot more poverty imported. Again, why is that untrue? Well, it is true, and everyone knows it's true, and no one has the brass to say it out loud, but it's real. And by the way, we have no idea how many dreamers or other illegal aliens are in this country. The Biden administration has been working with the government of Mexico to hide those numbers for 2 years now from the public. Yeah, so much for your democracy. The Center for Immigration Studies just exposed this in one of the most important investigations from the border in a long time. Watch.
After this short bus drive from a Mexican government shelter across from Calexico, California, Mexico's immigration service will hand them over to their American counterparts at an official port of entry, with temporary legal status papers already in their folders. Once CBP processes them in, they're all released to begin permanent lives working in American cities of their choice. These ones and thousands more entering the same way all along the U.S.-Mexican border won't have illegally crossed a river, won't have hiked through brush, and won't have paid thousands to cartel smugglers. Maybe most importantly to the Biden administration, they surely won't end up in the historically swollen, politically problematic illegal crossing statistics. Instead, Biden's DHS legalized these people before they could commit the illegal act they intended when they left home. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection pre-approved all of them while they were still in Mexico.
So that was, what's the word for that? That would be immigration fraud being committed by the Biden administration, hiding the numbers so you don't realize how many people are coming into your country illegally. You have no role in this whatsoever. Now keep that in mind when you learn that the Tom Tillis lame duck bill will include, quote, $25 to $40 billion for border security. And that's actually a lot, not as much as we're giving to Ukraine, because of course their border is a lot more important than ours, shut up racist, but it is billions more than Donald Trump asked for to build the border wall. And at the time, senators in both parties said that was just way too expensive and racist, and people just build taller ladders, okay. But now the same group is fine with $40 billion for border security. Why is that? Because they know it's fake. They know it's fake. You can build any structure you want, but if the officials manning the gates, like on January 6th, just open the doors, it's meaningless. And of course, Tom Tillis knows that, to his eternal shame. How out of it is Tom Tillis? Well, watch Tom Tillis, who clearly has no grounding in the physical reality of America 2022, tell you that letting all these people in, giving them citizenship, is a good idea because really what we're importing is computer scientists and engineers. Watch Tom Tillis.
I've tried to tell anyone who thinks that we just need to find more computer scientists, more data analysts, more people with advanced degrees from the U.S. population, that they need to wake up and recognize if we want our economy to continue to grow, if we want to continue to build on this great economy, that we've got to look to legal immigration as a critical part of fulfilling our workforce needs and really growing our innovation economy.
So that's just a word salad of phrases Tom Tillis doesn't understand, of course. But think about that. In the last 2 years, thanks to COVID and the manufactured response to it in this country, our public education system has completely collapsed. Kids are not being educated. We're not producing programmers, partly because of policies that Tom Tillis stood by and allowed to be enacted under COVID. But rather than fix that, we need to legalize millions of dreamers and give them citizenship. So if you really wanted a lot of computer programmers, there are a lot of them around the world, you would make an active attempt to identify them and import them, and then you could tell us why. But to let in people without high school educations by the millions because we need more computer programmers, now you're just lying to us, Tom. Tell us how stupid do you think we are? Pretty stupid, apparently. So what's the border actually look like? Well, Charlie LaDuff, our reporter friend from Michigan, formerly of the New York Times, has been to the border recently, spent a lot of time there, caught a lot on video. Here's some footage that tells you who's actually coming over.
In the last 2 years, how many people have made their way into the United States?
I think last year was over 2 million. And the year before that, I think just under 2 million. And then you have the unknown number of people that got away that we have no idea that got away. And then you look at the people that are overstaying visas. I mean, that 11 million number of illegals in the United States is just a fantasy.
New York complains about 1,000 a month. We have 1,000 a day, 2,000 a day.
Yeah, this right here is probably 350 right here. In the meantime, probably a mile downstream, they're probably running a bunch of dope because all our people are tied up over here with this. That's why they send them big groups.
So most Americans, because this is a pretty big country, have no idea the scale of this. It's been going on for 2 years, and it will completely change this country forever, and it's continuing, and nobody is doing anything about it. And no one seems upset about it. Is Tom Tillis upset about this? No, computer programmers, reading his stupid libertarian talking points from 1996. We're going to have a lot more footage from Charlie LaDuff from the border, and it shows you what's actually happening there. And a lot of people crossing are nice people with families who just want to work and hang drywall, and that's great, and everyone supports that. Quite a few of them, though, are drug smugglers. Actually, that's true. This is all being orchestrated by cartels, and some of them wind up killing Americans.
I have 5 motion-activated cameras. I've got 2 way back that way and 3 back in the ranch here. It's a very poor sample because I have over 100 trails coming through the ranch. And so 5 over 100 is only 5%. And on those 5 cameras, between February and October, 2,500 images. An intelligence officer with the Border Patrol told me that he believes 20% are carrying drugs. On this ranch, we've been here 35 years now. It's a wonderful ranch, except we are very ticked off that all these drug packers are coming through my ranch to poison our American people.
So the closer you get to the border, and this is true of Republicans and Democrats, Hispanics, whites, blacks, none of that matters. Any American who's close to the border is horrified by what's going on there. So the only way that you could support this is by intentionally ignoring what's happening there, like Tom Tillis is, and Lisa Murkowski, and Joe Biden, and all the rest. Today, our Peter Doocy asked Biden, who's going to be in the area soon, are you going to go see the border while you're down there? Watch this.
Why go to a border state and not visit the border? Because there's more important thing going on. They're going to invest billions of dollars in a new enterprise.
There are more important things going on, right? What's actually happening is the Biden administration ended the policies that would have stopped this flood of unaccompanied minors at the border, and now they want to make the problem even worse, and they're doing it for a reason. They're telling you what the reason is. You're not allowed to notice, but it doesn't make it any less true. This is real. This is happening. No one's stopping it. Republicans are colluding to allow it to continue. Stephen Miller is a senior advisor, was for 4 years to President Trump. He implemented many of the policies that the Biden people canceled. He joins us tonight. Stephen Miller, thank you so much for coming on. So it's a little, when you look at pictures of what's actually happening at the border, when you see the numbers, 5 million people in 2 years, totally changing the American population, how could Tom Tillis and Murkowski and Romney, how could they support giving an amnesty in the face of that?
Because they support unlimited immigration into this country. They believe fundamentally as a philosophic matter that Americans aren't up to it. Americans can't cut it. The American middle class is no good. Its values are useless. Its history is useless. Its aspirations mean nothing to them, like the dirt that you walk on the ground. So of course you need to bring in new people. And I would say that on the Dreamer point specifically, it is the most insidious form of amnesty that any country could ever consider. Because the message to the world is, smuggle a child into this country, and that child will be rewarded with U.S. citizenship. And what you will have, and what we're already seeing, is a wave of illegal minors being brought into this country of biblical proportions. And just to put this into numerical perspective, in 2020, when we used Title 42 to adopt a 100% repatriation policy for minors, we achieved the lowest levels of minor crossings since pre-Obama amnesty times. You talked about DACA in your opening. So before that, no one had ever seen numbers that were that low of minors before this whole thing started. Then Biden came in, and despite warnings from Border Patrol, he said that minors are exempt from Title 42, the automatic expulsion policy. We have now seen almost every single month under Biden, let this sink in, almost every single month under Biden, the number of unaccompanied minors who have entered the country is higher than every single month in American history before Biden. Every month, almost without exception, is higher than any month in all of history before Biden. And in that environment, Sinema and Tillis and others are saying, let us codify the idea that smuggled minors are Americans for life. It's insane, Tucker.